That'll do. So I've got a story here which is going to be of no surprise to most people, whilst also being uniquely shocking at the same time. And it just further highlights the absolute clown show of a country that the United Kingdom is quickly becoming. But it is absolutely of no surprise, and it's just par for the course at this point. Spoiler alert for anybody who's watching this and is going to be maybe not wanting to know what my opinion is. I'm just going to give it straight away. So if you want to quit the video now after this, you can do. I think this is absolutely wrong. I don't think the police should be doing this, and I think it's going to lead to serious abuses of people's rights and probably the safety of women. So let's get on with the story. Trans police officers allowed to strip search women as furious feminists warn of state-sanctioned sexual assault. I 100% agree with that title. This is literally allowing men, there's no such thing as a trans woman. There is men who think they're women. It's going to allow these men to strip search women. Let that sink in. Right, have you thought about that? This is absolutely going to be abused by perverts. And I do not care how offended people are by that statement. This is disgusting. And whoever came up with this rule, in my opinion, not only needs sacking, this is, and I'm going to say it again, I say it a lot, this is a flogging issue as far as I'm concerned. Whoever's decided this needs spreading out on a rack, flogging. Disgusting. This is absolute pervert territory as far as I'm concerned. And this is going to narcissists, perverts and psychopaths are going to end up applying for the police, and they're going to abuse this ruling so that they can strip search women. I don't care what anybody says. I believe that is going to be the absolute fallout of this, and we're going to see it happen. The majority of police forces in England and Wales, oh my goodness, I've just pressed a button. Touchscreens, my God. Sorry, I shouldn't take the Lord's name in vain. Right, let's get it back. Right. The majority of police forces in England and Wales allow trans-identifying biologically male officers to strip search women, research has revealed. Disgusting. Absolute disgusting. To coin a term from a TV show called Brass Eye, that is nonsense. So at least 34 of 43 forces have either implemented the policy or intended to. How can 34 police forces seriously consider that? These people are supposed to understand rules and laws. This is what happens when you allow the police force to be taken over by university students. Once upon a time, it was a direct pipeline, for good or for bad, from the military. You'd end up with overwhelming majority of police officers being military. This is craziness, and the radicalisation of universities is now being reflected in the police, as we're seeing here. The research conducted by the Women's Right Network claimed police forces, police farces more like, were pandering to the vocal transgender lobbyists. 100% true. But I don't even think they're pandering to them. I mean, they are pandering to them, but I think a lot of this is, as I say, a lot of these police officers will agree with this, because they will be university students and they'll have been activists when they were at university, and they'll have been eating this ideology like a fat person eating biscuits on a Friday night. Police guidelines already ensure female officers are required to carry out intimate searches of a biological male suspect, even if they identify as a woman. Well, yeah, absolutely. If you have a transgender woman, that's what a man is, a man who dresses up as a woman and claims to be a woman and has possibly been on hormones, so they've grown breasts, but artificially grown them because they've taken hormones, and they may have had surgery. Well, I use the term surgery very loosely. They've got mutilated penis. That's what it is, in my opinion, right? That's still a man. So you have a male officer to search that man because he is still a man. You don't get a female officer to search a man. I don't care how mentally ill he is. You still get a man to search a man. You get a woman to search a woman, as far as I'm concerned. Officers can face disciplinary proceedings if they refuse. Right. So Heather Binning, who founded the Women's Right Network, said self-identification is not UK law and women should not be paying the price for policing beyond the law. 100% agree. This is women being sacrificed on the altar of diversity, equity and inclusion. It is ideology coming before people's safety. And it's the same with these people, especially in politics. Like what women in the infantry. Wrecks your body. If you meet any infanteer who's been in for longer than 10 years, their body will be shot. Knees gone, back gone, all these things. Men's bodies are far more robust than women's. Sorry, ladies, it's just a fact of biology. I don't make the rules. I didn't create DNA the way it is. I didn't design the human body. That is just a fact of reality. There are obviously going to be a couple of exceptional women, but in order to allow those handful that you can count on one hand in a country, exceptional women who can cope with doing something like the infantry, it is not right to lie to the rest of the women in the country and allow them to make the mistake of sacrificing their bodies unbeknownst to them. That's going to be the consequence in order to make your political ideology feel that little bit nicer, warmer and fuzzier. It's absolutely disgusting. And like I say, it's hard enough for men. Most men's bodies get ruined by it. Why would you want to absolutely annihilate women's bodies as well? It's just sickening that you'd lie to people like this, in my opinion. Heather Binning, who found, I read that, police chiefs have failed us again. This is not reasonable or lawful, and we do not consent. Well, all I can say to this woman, Heather Binning, and I've never met the woman, I don't know what her politics are, I don't know what ideology she follows, nothing like that. But if I was to meet her, I'd like to say to her, what the hell do you expect? And this isn't me like chest poking her. It's like, we've had decades of the police and councils and NHS and schools and care workers and everything else, judges and you name it. We've had all the institutions of the country covering up white, working class, vulnerable Christian girls of an Anglo-Saxon background who were being raped, pimped, prostituted, murdered, drugged, beaten, etc., 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 by predominantly Pakistani, Bangladeshi Muslim rape gangs. How is this a surprise to these people? Or is it because it's now affecting them personally that they suddenly give a toss? I'm sorry for the language, but this really does wind me up, because a lot of these women's rights activists, they didn't care when it was working class white girls who were getting raped and murdered and drugged and trafficked and pimped and all that other stuff. But now suddenly it's them. They think now that when they're going to one of their women's rights rallies, which they're entitled to do and I fully support, but now they could be arrested by a transgender police person who is biologically a male, and they could be strip searched by that man. Now they care. Now they're suddenly interested in all of this. And this is what winds me up about this, and what is so pernicious about this whole ideology. As I say, I'll repeat it again. When it was white, working class, vulnerable Christian girls of a predominantly Anglo-Saxon background, they didn't care. They did not care. There was silence from all of them. And if anything, a lot of these people, I'm not saying this Heather Binning herself, this is not a comment on her, this is more about the group in general. They label people like me who raise concerns about that and were saying this isn't right, called people like us racists and bigots and phobes and everything else. But now it's affecting them, it's on their doorstep. We tried to warn them. I remember 10 years ago when it was all coming out about the grooming gangs, I was speaking to people of this mindset, women's rights activists, saying this will affect you one day. One day, the police, and it was all when this transgender stuff was started as well, saying, what's happened to those young girls who've been raped and trafficked? I said, the police will do the same to you. And they call me a bigot and a racist and a homophobe and all the other stuff. They just throw all the slurs out because they don't want to listen, because they're never wrong, unfortunately. Again, that's not a comment on Heather Binning herself. I don't know her, never met her. First time I've ever heard of it, but I'm on about the group in general, speaking in broad terms, so to speak. And so if that isn't you personally, that's not aimed at you. Retired Police Superintendent Kathy Larkman, who authorised the WRN state-sanctioned sexual assault report, claimed dozens of female officers had approached the group to raise their concerns. Well, I'm glad that female officers are doing it, and really there should be a lot of male officers doing it. If I was a male police officer, I'd be kicking a right stink up about this, because it's absolutely disgusting. However, Larkman also claimed there was a culture fear within the police that prevented them from speaking out. Yeah, well, it was the same thing that allowed the grooming gangs to happen. Nobody spoke out, did they? Because really, at the end of the day, like with most professional jobs, the cowards, when it comes down to it, they're more concerned about their careers and their own futures rather than doing what's actually right. And this is the thing people don't realise. Doing the kind thing and doing the right thing are not the same thing. Doing the right thing will often get you persecuted. And whether you're religious or not, you can at least take the allegory as a story. Jesus got crucified for doing the right thing, So that's what that story, I believe, is trying to teach people. You have to be willing to die, and you will be persecuted for doing the right thing. And eventually, when all the truth comes out, then society will understand and accept what you're saying. And this is what, unfortunately, a lot of these officers have to understand. If you're a police officer and if you see something wrong, say it. Do not let them bully you into silence. Don't do it. Because it will bite you in the arse eventually. Because this isn't going to go away, all this stuff. One day, sensible people are going to get into control in this country, and there will be there will be questions asked, and I believe there will be serious repercussions for those who've covered this sort of stuff up. A female police officer alleged she was threatened with disciplinary action when she questioned the policy. Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. Again, the senior officers, though, being cowards. They're absolutely being cowards because they're only concerned about their own careers. And this is where police officers need to start outing them. Get in your union and make a stink about this. She told the Daily Mail, I fear both of my colleagues and for vulnerable suspects. I mean, just go talking to the newspapers, then turn it in, because this is well within the public interest of knowing this sort of stuff. The officer added, a strip search is a humiliating and potentially traumatic experience, and everything should be done to ensure a suspect is treated with dignity and respect. I don't even, to be honest with you, I don't care about that side of it. If you're a suspect in a serious crime, until that has been resolved, certain rights really are put on pause. With this more serious of crimes, especially with things like murder and stuff. However, I don't think predators should be allowed to have access to women, and that's what I'm concerned about. And I know that might sound, people might be like, that's about tit, sorry for the language, way of putting it, but I'm not interested in criminals' rights. What I am concerned about is preventing perverts from being able to gain access to, because when somebody's being arrested, they then become essentially a vulnerable person, in my opinion, as well. And I know that might sound a bit contradictory to what I was saying about criminals or potential suspects not having the same rights, but they are still a vulnerable person. They are completely under the control of the police, in theory. There's nothing, even if they fight back, they're going to get a good shoeing, well, that's right or wrong, whatever. So perverts shouldn't be allowed to have access to these women. The report comes just 2 years after the National Police Chiefs Council released advice saying chief officers are advised to recognise the status of transgender colleagues from the moment they transition. Well, I don't agree with that, but this is the problem with the Police Chiefs Council and all this these other quangos that they have. It's just absolute madness. Same with the army. It's why the military's going into meltdown at the moment, and why the Navy's having to mothball the 2 ships, with a potential 2 more ships getting mothballed. Because it's too many civilians who haven't got a clue about these organisations poking their oars in, and because they have these ideologies beyond the station, they don't understand what the knock-on effects are of these things. So people say, "Oh, you don't need an army if everybody gets along. We wouldn't have war." It's like humans have fought since the beginning of time itself. All animals fight. These are things that are inherent in us. This is what these people, the utopianists, madness. An NPCC spokesman previously said all searches are dealt with on a case-by-case basis after consideration by a custody sergeant based on the response of the detainee. Well, big custody sergeants haven't been known to make mistakes in the past, have they? Oh, wait, yes, they have. Massive ones. The best thing to do with something like this is don't allow people to make mistakes with it. Take the option off the table. Just don't allow it. It's just the easiest option. All searches are carried out in line with the officer or staff member's training and legal authority. Yeah, because having something written down in paperwork doesn't stop people abusing systems, does it? Doesn't stop disgusting individuals from taking advantage of those things in the rules as written, does it? That's never happened before in history, has it? Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. If you found this informative or you've enjoyed it, or, well, hard to enjoy this, but you know what I mean, please like, subscribe, put a comment below, and please visit the article. I'll put a link below. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.